This guy is Deputy Jericho Tyler. Now, if he looks familiar, he ought to be at least over 6,000 people that are in Harris County, because this phenomenal kid, I call him a kid because he is a kid, but this great guy, he's out there, he's one of our patrolmen, and he goes out and responds to a call. And after getting some information, his good police instinct and his training allowed him to dig a little deeper. I'll let him tell you a little bit about the story, but nonetheless, he took a sexual predator off the streets of Harris County because he just didn't stop at just doing a job, but rather he took his responsibility seriously. He followed his instinct and conducted a very, very good investigation that took a dangerous predator off the streets of Harris County. And so I mentioned that over 6,000 people. The reason being because we put them on our Facebook. This guy went viral. And so if you ever want to give us some more likes on his good work, we'll take them. So to that end, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you to Jericho Tyler. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Tell the people about what's it like to be a patrolman on the streets of Harris County.
Being a patrolman is great. I love being a patrolman, especially with community policing. At nighttime, I work nights in the 80 area, so at night is not a lot of people outside, but I do get to meet some people, and everybody that's outside at night in Mission Bend, I'm going to meet, talk, speak with the public. That's what I love to do. So it's helped me out quite a bit, especially one story. Like 2 years ago, I met this kid. He was walking down the street. You know, I knew he wasn't supposed to be out there. He was a juvenile. I took him home, spoke to his parents, and explained to them, you know, the importance of keeping kids in their home. And, you know, I got a chance to meet the other brothers and sisters I was hitting. Well, 3 months go by, and we had a bad case. It was a capital murder case. Well, the victim's daughter explained to me how this person looked, and just by the description of the suspect, I just knew that it was this kid. So I went by that house, I sat by the house, and I saw a vehicle that matched the description of the vehicle that was used in that capital murder, and came back stolen. I pulled them over, put them in my back seat, and they confessed on video that they did this murder. So, they've been convicted already. They each got 50 years. They led to the other 3 suspects to arrest. And also with the sexual assault. Well, the night I received that call, we get those calls all the time. Sometimes boyfriend sneaks in the girlfriend's house and the parents catch me. So we get to those calls, and most of the time they're juveniles, consenting juveniles. So we just identify them. I might take them to their parents and tell their parents on it. Well, in this case, I've been taking deception classes, training. So I have a lot of training in detecting deception. But this person, he told the parents that he was 17. He told the juvenile female that he was sleeping with, he was 16. And, just through the detective deception training that I previously taken, real soon after, I was able to identify him and found out that he was actually a 27-year-old man, and he not robbed, but sexually assaulted females at gunpoint months before. So he has several sexual assaults. And by the community policing, which the neighbor across the street, he observed this male climbing through that window, 4 days prior to each night, and he was able to help me identify the suspect's vehicle, and it led to more charges of sexual assault of a child. So I just love community policing. It's the best thing.
Wonderful. Well, folks, Jericho Tyler is one of the guys you can count on. Just one of the guys you can count on to keep Harris County safe. So we're so proud of his work. He's already received a number of commendations for his good police work out there. And so I got my eye on him. And so we're very proud of him. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. All right, next we have Lieutenant Max Turner. Well, let's go ahead and just say, we just talked about this earlier. This is Captain Turner, just recently promoted. We're very proud of his accomplishment, his achievements, and his willingness to do a little bit more around here. So we're very proud. So although you may see one bar in here, really another one should go right next to it. And so he's already wearing his captain's badge, I believe. Because I just got the pin in on. So very, very excited about that. Max Turner is going to help us answer some questions about patrol and all of the various things that goes out there. Because in fact, Major Marino lost a little bit more hair when we said now that he's been promoted to captain, he's going to have some new responsibilities. And so Major Marino was losing some hair over losing now Captain Turner. But it's just one of the nice things when you know you got so much talent within the ranks of the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and Max is one of those guys. So Max, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. Why don't you talk to the folks about all the good work that goes out on patrol?
All right, thank you. For about the last 9 years, I've been a supervisor on patrol. The last 3.5 on the west side. And one of the things that was addressed earlier by Sheriff Garcia and Major Marino was talking about violent crime. We do a lot in the Sheriff's Office to try to prevent crimes from occurring and also to follow up and catch people to keep them from committing future crimes. But a lot of times in your neighborhood, it may not be a violent crime that's a big issue. There's a lot of issues that come up, whether it's kids that are out in a school zone waiting for the bus, or at a bus stop waiting for the bus, or the enforcement of traffic in school zones and things like that. The patrol deputies take care of every aspect there is out there to promote officer safety for themselves, but also public safety. Some of the questions that we received had to do with neighborhood type issues. One of them had to do with speeders on Stockton Falls around Fry Road. And one of the things that the person that submitted the question said is that they'll call the sheriff's office and somebody will drive by, but usually it's after the speeders are gone. If you know you have a continual problem, you can contact your local substation for the sheriff's office. We have 5 substations and also several storefronts around the county. And talk to a supervisor or somebody, or let them know what the situation is. You can also go on the Harris County Sheriff's Office website and let them know this is a recurring problem. Sheriff mentioned the iWatch app earlier, iWatch Harris County. There are so many different ways that we receive information on patrol from the public, and every one of them is followed up on, whether it's through contacting through the website, through the iWatch program, contacting somebody at the substation, calling our dispatch. Every one of them we follow up on. And I have officers and supervisors assigned to make sure that all those things are addressed. In this particular instance, I would, probably suggest that somebody contact their local office and say, this is a recurring problem. One of the issues is, because we're fighting the violent crimes and things like that, we may not be aware of the speeding issue in your neighborhood. So you have to make us aware so that we can take care of it. Another issue had to do with parking, illegal parking, and blocking fire hydrants. It could be an issue with aggressive animals, that animals keep getting out of fences and running around. We received all those types of questions. And we just recently had an issue with some pit bulls that got loose. We had a deputy that actually did a lot of follow-up, worked with animal control, and tracked down the owners, and they were issued citations, and now they have to answer for their animals being loose on the street. So there's a lot of things that we do. There's a lot of ways to contact us, and all of the things we look at very seriously, because every one of these is an issue for one of our citizens. And so we want to do the best that we can. The main thing is to make sure we're aware. A lot of times I hear things such as, well, I never see an officer in my neighborhood. And sometimes we're trying to do the higher priority calls, and we may not be aware of the issue that you have specifically in your area. So I would just suggest that you contact the sheriff's office, Sheriff Garcia, through the various different methods that we have, and you'll get a response on that. We have a lot of great guys and gals that work out there. Deputy Tyler is one that works in my area on the west side. Does a fantastic job, and all his co-workers do a good job. So if you'll just let us know what's going on out there, we can address the issue.
Wonderful. Captain, thank you so much. And before you leave, let me do something. I try to be up with all this stuff. So I'm going to do a chat here, or here you go. We'll tweet you guys and you too. Captain, thank you so much.
Sure.
Next, we have Lieutenant, Detention Lieutenant Lynette Anderson. This incredible lady, just scoot over a little closer. This incredible lady is part of the phenomenal professional folks that we have that do the tough job of keeping those people who have worn out their welcome by not playing by the rules out in the community. They've been arrested, they've been brought to the county jail, and so Detention Lieutenant Anderson and her staff have the tough work of making sure that that those folks are within our custody, don't leave until we allow them to leave, and but they are also responsible for a host of federal, state obligations that we have to abide by for the care, custody, and control of the inmates in our facilities. To that end, let me also make one more mention. I said Lieutenant Anderson. Lieutenant Anderson started as a detention officer. She then became a detention sergeant. And most recently, this year, she was promoted to detention lieutenant. And I say that because you just saw Deputy Tyler and Captain Turner. These are incredible people that, on top of all the responsibilities and authorities that they have, they carry guns. And so we want them out on the street, helping to keep the people safe. There was a time in Harris County where a lot of deputies worked within our correctional system. And I was grateful for that service, but I thought it was most important to get them out to the street as quickly as possible and help us fight the violence and other forms of crime that are occurring. And then with our new career path, our new professionals that are now part of our infrastructure here, our detention officer rank, we depend on them to keep a hold of those folks in our custody and administer all the work that they have to do. But all that to say that, Lieutenant Anderson and her co-workers, and their job is tough. I mean, I keep saying that everybody's got a tough job. She's got one of the toughest because they report to a jailhouse. They're locked in with these inmates on a day-to-day basis. And I always make mention, Jericho, with what he did, the worldwide public got to see what he did and gave him bukus of kudos and sweet, commendations and acknowledgement and all that. But you may suspect the citizens that get to see the good work of our detention officers aren't necessarily people who want to write and tell about it. These are our inmates. And so I work hard as often as I can, and I wanted Lieutenant Anderson and her operations and her co-workers to be a part of this conversation. Because I want you, the public, to know that you have phenomenal public servants that work within the correctional system, that don't get the opportunity to save a cat out of a tree or save a child out of a burning house or fix somebody's flat, but rather they're doing a phenomenal job making sure that the inmates that are in our custody are kept in our custody until the courts say that they can leave, and then doing all of the other very interesting work that's required of them to facilitate the care, custody, and control of those inmates. It's an important job, and you spend a great deal of money on it, so we need to make sure it's done well, and it's done well every day. And those people that we depend on are Lieutenant Anderson's staff, her, and many others. But I want them to be acknowledged by the general public because their job is tough. But it is an extremely rewarding career because you in Harris County can take pleasure knowing that when Jericho goes out and puts a handcuff on somebody, they ain't leaving until they're allowed to leave by law. And that's because Lieutenant Anderson and others do a phenomenal job. So Lieutenant, thank you for joining us. Why don't you tell the folks about what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, now I supervise over 150 deputy detention officers and supervisors. And we monitor the inmates. We take their court, make sure they get to court in a timely manner. We make sure that they have their meals on time. We have rules. They still have to clean up, and before they get the TV, they get their mail and all of that. We also provide rehabilitation programs that are starting up, and we have Mike Barber Ministries. They brought in a lot of volunteers. We also have a partnership with HCC, Houston Community College, where we offer GED programs for the inmates who are on low to medium sentences. And through this, we graduated over 1,000 offenders into society who go on to become, they get their associates. We've had some that make the D list, and some that have graduated with a 4-year degree.
The whole idea behind that is we want people to go back much better than how we got them.
Exactly. I have a true story that happened to me around Christmas time. I was in Walmart by myself, plain clothes, and I had someone come up to me, and the minute you hear boss lady, you know where they know you from. And he walked over to me, and I said, "Oh, how are you doing?" He said, "I'm doing good." He says, he introduced me to his wife, his children, all of that. And he said that he'd gotten his UD while in Harris County. And he had a good job, and he was able to buy toys and everything his kids needed with legal money. Because we provided a service to him that he was able to get his GED.
Well, folks, as I tell you, as I just interjected, the county jail is a place where people need to come and learn a lesson and realize that there's rules that we all have to abide by. That's what's part of it. That's our obligation to a great society that we live with. But when they come to our facility, we want them to learn their lessons, but at the same time, we want people never to have to come back. And so we do all we can, whether through education, through training, through some form of ministerial work, to try to put people on a better pathway than how they got here. And I think that at the end of the day helps us all. And so I am very proud of Lieutenant Anderson and her staff. And I want you, the general public, to recognize the fact that just because her uniform looks a little different from mine, we both wear the same patch. We're both obligated to you. And her staff and Lieutenant Anderson do a very, very important job within the Harris County jail system. When I became sheriff, I'll tell you that I'm so proud of the fact that we have never failed a jail inspection. We have always been accredited, and we continue to maintain those operations at an appropriate standard level that allows the state to support us and have confidence in all the good work that we do. So I don't do it alone. I need a lot of detention staff to help us get there. And Lieutenant Anderson and her colleagues are those. So whenever you see some of our detention officers out there, thank them because they do a very, very tough and very important job. Lieutenant, thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here. All righty. Next we have Sergeant Larry Franks. And this guy here is responsible for our iWatch Harris County mobile phone app. This is the sergeant that checks all those tips on a daily basis and makes sure that they get in the right hands so that they can be followed up and investigated. And he'll tell you about the success that we're having behind this app. It's been phenomenal, and we want everyone in Harris County to download the free, very free mobile phone app. I watch Harris County. He watches Harris County, and so should you. Download your free mobile phone app. I watch Harris County. Sergeant Franks, good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Like the sheriff said, the iWatch is a free downloadable mobile application for your smartphone. The iWatch application allows you, the citizen, to get involved with your neighborhood and your community to make it safer and more secure. You can send text messages, phone call messages, or complete tips to me. You can send these tips along with pictures and or video. You can send them any time of the day or night. I want to stress that this is not a replacement for for 911 and/or dispatch. If you need police service right away, please call our dispatch line or our 911 line. But if you have a crime tip, you can send it to me. Again, it allows you to feel like you're helping with the security of your neighborhood and your city and your other citizens. I Watch Harris County is also involved in the school districts. I believe there's 25 school districts in Harris County. They all promote the I Watch Harris County application. They have posters in the schools, and they're telling their children to use the app. It's very simple to do. Children may feel intimidated or embarrassed to report anything from bullying to improper conduct with somebody. They can do that anonymously, and they can do it anytime they want to. We've had quite a bit of success with the iWatch. Up to date, we have cleared 59 individual tips with arrest. We've had upwards of 70 people arrested off of those 59 tips. Most recently, since the beginning of January, we cleared 7 tips with an arrest, which resulted in 11 people being charged and/or put in jail. One of those cases involved the seizure of over $32,000 in cash and a large quantity of steroids. So the system works. I get all the tips. I will send them to the proper place. If you think something is suspicious in your neighborhood and you're not sure what to do with it, you send it to me. I'll know what to do with it, and I'll be happy to take care of it. The question that was asked of me is, I sent in an iWatch tip and I don't know the result of the tip. Well, there are 3 separate ways to send in an iWatch tip. You can leave a voice message, you can leave a text message, or you can send in a complete tip. To get a result, you need to send in a completed tip, and you need to bookmark your tip. Once your tip is bookmarked, you can search on the application for the tip status. You find the button, you push tip status, and then you can go to all of your tips that were bookmarked, and you can find out the status of that particular tip. The good thing about that is if you send in a tip and you bookmark it, and you go back to it with additional information, you can send that exact same tip with the additional information back to me, and if that tip has been suspended or is not being actively worked, the additional information may allow us to reopen that tip and to start the investigation over. I would encourage everyone to download it. It's free. Why not?
Very good. And I think we got a question regarding iWatch. What is the question? He just answered it? All right. He took care of business. He's out there iWatching Harris County, and so should you. Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you.